$2,000 worth of consumption vouchers now available as part of a government voucher scheme. 75 imported cases of malaria in the city since July. And PLA forces continue their live fire drills around Taiwan. Hello and welcome to TVB News. Millions of Hong Kong residents can receive $2,000 worth of consumption vouchers starting today. That's the first installment of the second phase of the government's $5,000 voucher scheme. While some restaurant owners think the vouchers won't help much in turnover, retailers anticipate bigger than normal spending by the public. Jackie Lin with more.
With the tap of your octopus card comes the latest batch of the consumption vouchers of $2,000. Apart from collecting them at these kiosks at MTR stations, users of WeChat Pay Hong Kong, Alipay Hong Kong, Tap & Go, BOC Pay or PayMe from HSBC can receive the disbursement via auto transfers to their specified account. This woman said she had planned well ahead on how to spend the money. This woman lamented how supermarkets hiked prices ahead of the voucher scheme, and that businesses benefited most from the scheme, not the general public. This tea house expects turnovers to be boosted by around 10%, but this operator says patrons are not as keen to spend big like last time, as people have grown more prudent because of inflation. To attract customers, malls and stores also rolled out discounts and cash coupons for voucher users. This chain store selling electronic appliances anticipates sales to double compared with last month, with the bestseller being air conditioners due to the hot weather. Financial Secretary Paul Chan says the fresh round of government vouchers provide a much-needed stimulus and multiplying effect for the economy, which has been plagued by the gloomy economic outlook within the SAR and abroad. Octopus card users will receive a further $3,000 of the $5,000 voucher in two batches. That's on October 1st and December 16th at the earliest. Users of the 5 other payment platforms, meanwhile, can receive the remaining $3,000 on October 1st in one go. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Hong Kong has reported 75 imported cases of malaria since July. Most of the cases flew into the city from Guinea, except 10 who arrived from other African countries. As of noon yesterday, 58 malaria patients remained hospitalized, with 1 in critical condition. This as Hong Kong added some 4,270 new COVID-19 cases. Around 240 infections were imported. There are 5 more COVID-related fatalities. The son of an elderly patient who recently died tested positive via a rapid test, but did not report to the authorities. The director of government logistics is undergoing quarantine after testing preliminary positive for COVID. As local infections involving the BA4 and BA5 Omicron subvariants surged past 10% of the newly reported cases, the Center for Health Protection is not ruling out that these 2 strains would become dominant among the city's new coronavirus cases. Government Pandemic Advisor David Hui has warned that if the COVID-19 BA5 variant becomes the predominant strain in Hong Kong, daily infections may reach the 10,000 mark. He believes that with the population's immunity against the virus waning, authorities will further lower the vaccination age for the 4th jab between September and October. Timothy Lee has the story.
In recent weeks, Hong Kong's daily COVID infections have soared to an average of 5,000. Speaking with TVB News, Government Pandemic Advisor David Hui said the reproduction rate of the coronavirus is still over 1. He expects the infection numbers to go higher, but he does not think there will be a rapid upsurge in the numbers unless the more transmissible BA.5 variant becomes the predominant strain in the city.
At the moment, the proportion of the BA.5 is close to 10%. But 1 week ago, it was only 1 to 2%. Though in Singapore, in recent months, BA.5 actually is responsible for about 35% of the cases. The number of cases is between 3,000 to well over 10,000 per day. So I think BA.5 would be the crucial factor in determining whether the number of cases will go up much higher in Hong Kong.
Hui pointed out that even if a person was vaccinated or previously infected, their immunity levels would drop after 6 to 9 months. The government advisor also encouraged children to get vaccinated as soon as possible, before the city will possibly be struck by growing BA.5 infections this winter.
There are data from South Africa in this age group, 6 months to 35 months, that after receiving the vaccine, antibody level actually goes up to a reasonable level. If the child previously was infected with the COVID, the antibody level after receiving the vaccine is even higher. So as long as we boost up the vaccination rate, I don't think we need to worry too much.
Responding to sources indicating the government will shorten the hotel quarantine period, Hui thinks it will not increase the local pandemic risk. He added that the upcoming health code measure should further limit the movement of new arrivals in Hong Kong as a safety measure. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The mainland logged 736 new COVID cases Sunday, including 483 infections in Hainan province. The tourist city of Sanya accounted for 413 of the province's cases and is currently undergoing citywide disinfection procedures. As around 30,000 tourists are still staying at the city's hotels, Sanya authorities have called for hotels to offer a 50% discount to guests. Visitors may be able to leave after a week if conditions improve, but this is not guaranteed. The cities of Wanning and Shanghai also implemented temporary citywide static management today. All public transportation has been suspended. Meanwhile, Zhejiang province reported 72 cases, and there were also more infections in other provinces. Mainland military forces today continued their live fire drills around Taiwan. This, as Taiwan's defense ministry believes, the mainland side was simulating attacks on the island. Caleb Leung has details.
This morning, Taiwan military forces again sent out an unmanned aerial vehicle from Hangchun Airport in Pingtung County to carry out a surveillance mission. This came as the People's Liberation Army continued its combat exercises and training in the waters and airspace around Taiwan. Today's drills focused on joint land attacks and long-range airstrikes. The Reuters news agency reported that some 10 warships each from the mainland and Taiwan sailed at close quarters in the Taiwan Strait, with some PLA Navy vessels crossing the median line. The report added that the Taiwanese side stayed close to monitor and, where possible, denied the PLA vessels the ability to cross over, although the two sides were showing restraint. Taiwan's defense ministry said in a release that multiple PLA ships, aircraft and drones were simulating attacks on the island and its navy. It said it had sent aircraft and ships to react appropriately, while its shore-based anti-ship missiles and its Patriot surface-to-air missiles were on standby. In response to recent military exercises launched by the mainland, Taiwan's ground forces will conduct live-fire artillery drills in Pingtung County on Tuesday and Thursday to test the island's combat readiness. Meanwhile, Taiwan again fired warning flares last night at unmanned vehicles spotted over waters around the Kinmen Island group and the nearby Beiding Islet. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
U.S. President Joe Biden has tested negative for coronavirus, but will remain in isolation until he tests negative a second time. His physician said on Saturday. Biden came down with the virus for a second time in 3 days after he had emerged from isolation from his initial bout of COVID reported on July 21st. Biden had been taking Paxlovid, a medicine that is supposed to reduce the risk of serious illness. His travel plans are currently on hold. He's due to travel to Kentucky on Monday to view damage from flooding in the state. Meantime, former U.S. President Donald Trump has been speaking to conservatives at the Conservative Political Action Conference in Texas. Trump remains the leading political figure in the Republican Party, but his support has waned slightly as he flirts with the idea of running again in 2024. And he had this to say on the current state of the nation.
As we gather tonight, our country is being destroyed more from the inside than out. America is on the edge of an abyss, and our movement is the only force on earth that can save it. This movement right here. What we do in the next few months and the next few years will determine whether American civilization will collapse or fail, or whether it will triumph and thrive, frankly, like never before. This is no time for complacency. We cannot be complacent. We have to seize this opportunity to deal with the radical left, socialist lunatics and fascists, and we have to hit them very, very hard.
Still ahead after the break, Israel says it's killed a second senior commander of the Islamic Jihad in Gaza during an airstrike. Locally, the observatory will consider issuing the standby signal number 1 tomorrow at the earliest. And a dancer seriously injured in the Mirror concert accident regains consciousness. Welcome back to TVB News. Israel said it has killed a second senior commander of the Palestinian group Islamic Jihad in the Gaza Strip in new airstrikes amid an escalating cross-border conflict. Palestinian casualties continue to grow, with dozens more people killed and several families left homeless. Nazvi Karim reports.
68-year-old Nadia Shamalak cares for 4 disabled sons and daughters in what used to be a house in Gaza. She and her family were given 15 minutes to evacuate before an Israeli rocket destroyed her one-story house in a targeted strike on a next-door building. "What can we do with 15 minutes?" she said. "We took nothing away with us." Shamalak's case highlights the human cost of Israel's campaign to snuff out what it calls threats from militants of the Islamic Jihad group. Palestinian officials say at least 30 people have been killed after 2 days of Israeli bombing, including 6 children. Israel said 4 of the children killed were caused by rockets fired from inside Gaza, although Palestinians say it came from an Israeli strike.
Tonight, Islamic Jihad terrorists fired a rocket towards Israel, which fell short inside Gaza, hitting a Palestinian home in the Jabalia neighborhood and tragically killing at least 4 children. There is video documenting the entire thing.
Local officials say Israeli planes bombed at least 8 houses across the enclave, leaving many families homeless. Israel says Gaza's ruling party Hamas and Islamic Jihad conceal weapons in residential areas to deter strikes. An Islamic Jihad official rejected the allegation as a Zionist attempt to justify their crimes against civilians. Israeli officials say almost 600 rockets have been fired from Gaza, including some long-range weapons that can reach Tel Aviv. However, most of them have been shot down by Israel's Iron Dome defense system, and there have been no reports of injuries on the Israeli side. The latest conflict started with Israel's preemptive killing of Islamic Jihad leader Taisir al-Jabari, which it said was meant to prevent an imminent attack. Another of the group's leaders, Khalid Mansour, has also been killed. Here, white smoke could be seen over the skies of Sderot in Israel early today, as Jews prepared to mark the holy day of Tisha B'Av, a day of fasting in which thousands of worshippers traveled to Jerusalem for prayer. By early morning, Israel police said several hundred Jews had already ascended the Temple Mount, or Noble Sanctuary as the Palestinians call it. Nazri Karim, TVB News.
China's longest wooden arch bridge with a history of over 900 years burnt down on Saturday. Authorities are currently investigating the cause of the fire. The Wan Bridge, located in Fujian province, collapsed in flames on Saturday night as onlookers watched in horror. The fire was put out at around 11 p.m. and nobody was injured. Built during the Northern Song dynasty, the bridge had a length of nearly 100 meters. It was previously damaged by a fire during the Qing dynasty, but was rebuilt in 2006. It was listed as a major historical and cultural site protected at the national level. Local authorities are probing how the bridge caught fire, and plans for restoring it have begun. Back here at home, the Hong Kong Observatory will consider issuing the standby signal number 1 on Monday at the earliest. This, as an area of low pressure, is expected to move towards Guangdong and develop gradually into tropical cyclone later tomorrow or on Tuesday. But its intensity remains uncertain, the observatory added. Under the influence of the area's outer rain bands, there will be winds with heavy, squally showers, thunderstorms and swells on Tuesday and Wednesday. A dancer who was seriously injured by a massive falling video screen at Cantopop band's Mirrors concert on July 28th has regained consciousness. Police arrived at the Hong Kong Coliseum today to conduct further investigations. Louis Cito, an engineering expert and a member of the government's task force looking into the incident, said the authorities will remove the screens from the venue soon. Meanwhile, the father of Mo Lee, the dancer who was seriously injured in the incident, said his son has woken up and is able to carry out simple communication. Derek Lee also asked supporters to pray for his son's recovery. And today is sport for all day. Members of the public can engage in exercise and various other physical activities at designated venues under the Leisure and Cultural Services Department. Premises such as swimming pools do not require any reservation. Security guards could also be seen today at entrances, reminding people that they could enter for free. To use other LCSD facilities, residents must have made previous reservations in their respective districts with their LCSD Leisure Link or online. With the theme for this year's event being electronic virtual sports, the government hosted health talks, sports demonstrations, and activities suitable for families, elderly people, and the disabled across the city's 18 districts. That is the news. Pearl Magazine is up shortly. Bye for now.